right, so last time we started talking about Python, and we prepared the environment that allows to write Python code, and we started by printing simple statements, right? Now, today we're going to talk more about the language itself, the specifics of the language itself. Now, when you are learning a new language, there are some basics, like you can't expect that you learn everything about the language. First of all, it's not efficient. Second of all, it's not useful because it changes a lot. So you want to learn the most important things, the basic building blocks. These are the ones that you focus on, put your energy on, make sure you understand them very well. And then everything would build on that. So it would be easy for you to look up things if you like something is new to you, it would be easy for you to learn it and look it up because you already have proper basis. Okay, so that's what we're gonna try to do in the few sessions that we're gonna be talking about Python. We're gonna cover the most important building blocks of the language so that you would be able to build on top of them later. Okay, and any programming language has pretty much any computer program, you are only creating some data, you have some data, and you want to apply some operations or some processing on this data. That's pretty much what a computer program boils down to. Okay, now this processing might be complicated. You may have a very complicated algorithm or may have like a very simple calculation, but at the very end, you just have some data and you want to apply processing on this data. Okay, and the most basic building block for that is just what are the data types. Okay, so when you're learning a new language, you want to know what are the data types that are available, what data representations are there, how can you store and deal with the data, and what kind of operations apply on this data. Okay, now we start with the most basic operation. When you talk about the data type, a data type specifies a range of values and specifies the specific type of operations that can apply on these values. And then everything after that builds on top of that. So we create functions, we create APIs, we create algorithms, everything is building on top of that. Okay? So we're gonna start talking about basic data types and operations that apply on them as the first step of learning about the language. Now, there are so many data types built in that come in with the language already when we install it. Okay, this is just the most common of them, not all of them, most common of them. So we're gonna cover these. Some of them you are already familiar with, like holding numeric values, Boolean values, and strings for text. Right? Now, here's one difference, like one subtle difference. You know, in Java, when we have a no value, what is the representation of the no value in Java? Yeah. Right? It doesn't, no, it doesn't, it was, no, let's say we're creating a variable, but we didn't put any value in it. It's not a zero, it's not an empty string, but we have the variable. But it doesn't have no value, so what do we expect inside? What is the representation of the no value? No. In most languages, the representation of the no value is null. In Python, the representation of the no value is called none, N-O-N-E. Okay? And the Python is case sensitive, so N is capital, right? So null, the same concept of the null in Python is written by none. Okay? Other than that, any value must have a type. So in Python, it's represented as a type on its own. Other than that, any value must have a type. And these are the most commonly used types. So we'll start with them. So numeric values in our numeric types are built in basic numeric types. In Python are int and float. So int to represent discrete numbers, float to represent fractional numbers. Okay. Now there is, you may remember in Java there's long, there's decimal, Okay, there are different variations of these. There are some variations of decimal, like decimal and non here in Python as well, but it's not the basic one. Okay, so the most basic ones types that represent numeric values are either X or float. Okay. The Boolean type is just it's just the logical values. It's either true or false. Okay, so the values that can be considered the Boolean type is either one or two values, one true or false. And it's case sensitive, so T must be capital, F must be capital, otherwise it wouldn't be nice. Okay, and the text or here it's sometimes considered a sequence of I mean there are a group of types that are considered sequence type, and the text or the string is considered a special sequence. Okay, we'll talk about sequences later, but a string str is the name of the type. Okay, and the values that it can hold is anything, any digits or letters or special letters, as long as they are surrounded by quotes. And then in Python, we have three types of quotes. So there is the single quote and double quote, and there's not a lot of difference between them, between the single quote and double quote. It's just if you use one of them, you have to be consistent. If you open a single quote, you close with a single quote. But there's nothing special about the difference between them. Now, the third type is a little bit different, which is called the triple quotes. So either triple double quotes or triple single quotes. Okay, and that's just a special type of string that allow for new lines, so you can span multiple lines without the slash. Now, you see, if you want to have a string that has multiple lines, if you are using the single quote or double quotes, you will have to use the slash n, right? Just like in Java, all right? But if you have a text, it is going to be used for documentation, or like it has different application in addition to the documentation. You have a text that spans multiple lines, and you don't want to use the slash n, you can use the triple quotes. Okay. Other than that, there is no difference between any of them. You create a string with one, and then it's treated exactly the same. So let's have this hands-on. So I'm gonna open the interpreter here. All right. So if I want to know the type of a certain value or a type of certain variable, there is a function called type that is already built in, comes in with Python. Okay, so a function called type. And then I give it the value that I want to ask about the type. So let's say if I have a discrete value, 5, it will say the type of this value is class int. So this int is the name of the class. Okay. So the class is a type. Now everything in Python is an object. All right. And even if it looks like the primitive types in Java, it looks like the primitive type in Java, right? The name of the type looks like the primitive type in Java, but it's not primitive here. It's an object. All right, so you can see that the type is actually a class, and we are creating anything of that type is an object of that class. Okay? Is that better? All right, so what if I have a fraction number, so 5.5, then I should expect it float, and that's what is normal, okay? Now, if I have something like this, true, so it should be Boolean. But if I forgot, I'm coming from Java background and forgot and used the small letters, it would say, I don't know, what is that? Okay, did you mean true, capital? All right, so it has to be, it's case sensitive, it has to be capital T. All right, now for the strings, like if I say type, so we'll use a single quote, let's say ABC. I have to close it with a single quote. There is not a lot of difference between the single quote. I mean, there's no difference at all, almost, between single quote and double quote. But if I want to include as like a new line, so I want to have multiple line text. So if I try to press enter here, it will give me an error because it doesn't recognize this as a proper ending or a continuation. So it gives me an error right away. So if I want to do that, I can use either triple double quotes or triple single quotes. Okay, so now this, if I press enter, it will recognize the enter like the new line as part of the string. All right, now let's say continue my string. And then I have to close it the same way I opened it. And I close the parentheses of the function. Now if I enter, now it does recognize it and it is proper, it is a proper string. Now the /n is included in how it must be saved with a /n, but we don't have to worry about it. Okay? And it's heavily used when you try to document your code. It's a good way to surround your documentation or the comments inside the code. Instead of just using simple comments, you can surround your documentation in triple quotes, and can also be extracted for external tools as well. All right.